Greetings YouTube. Today I'm joined by my friend Lee. You might know him better as your humble GM.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about films and how they play an inspiration for a lot of role players. Now if you're anything like me and Lee, you probably have quite a large selection of DVDs. I'm a massive film buff. When it comes to buying DVDs, I buy films that I really enjoy. But I also buy a lot of films that, not just because I want to watch them again and again, but because I think they'll make great inspiration for roleplay games. And so we picked out a few DVDs off my DVD shelf, and we're just going to kind of have a bit of a back and forth about how would you translate the concepts of this film into a roleplay game.
Yeah, this works out really well because I think me and Chris share three great interests, of course. One of them is role-playing games, obviously. One of them is 80s music, which, as yet, we can't really find inspiration for in a role-playing game.
A role-play game based on the music video of Take On Me by a-ha, where you're being chased by men with pipe wrenches, maybe.
Watch this space. And, of course, movies. So I think it's an interesting topic to see what movies we can throw at each other and what sort of inspiration for role-playing games strikes from those.
And hopefully, it'll inspire you to peruse your DVD shelf.
Or at least give you an excuse.
There is that.
Alright, so I'm going to start this one off with the Russian horror fantasy epic Night Watch. It will blow you away, that's what Empire magazine says. If you haven't seen this movie, watch it. It's kind of like the World of Darkness and Underworld, but it's like a good version of Underworld.
Hey, I think that's harsh. The first Underworld was good. I haven't talked less about the others.
I thought the third one was alright. Rise of the Lycans. But yeah, so this movie...
As prequels go, it's pretty good. Certainly better than the Star Wars ones, but hey,
So
just don't yourself to a lot of abuse for that.
This movie is about the opposing forces of light and dark, represented by wizards and werewolves and vampires and supernatural creatures. And they've come to an agreement about one side, the good side, rule the day, the dark side rule the night, but they watch each other. So the Night Watch are the day good guys who watch the night people, and then the Night Watch is the Day Watch are the monsters who watch the good people, and they maintain the balance.
They're kind of like a supernatural police force.
That's right, yeah. And it's got a convoluted plot about prophecy and vampires and the Lord of Darkness and the Lord of Light. But I think, for me, it's a great inspiration, obviously, first of all, for the World of Darkness, for the aesthetic, the look of post-Soviet Moscow. It's a very intriguing-looking place, and if you've read the books as well, it sort of develops that a bit. And it shows a world that maybe if you live in Britain or in America, where a lot of these games tend to take place, especially America, you're not going to see everything. So it gives you a glimpse into another city, a metropolis, where these things kind of happen.
And I don't know how much they touch upon it. I don't think they touch upon it much in the film, and I don't know how much they do in the books, but Russia has its own sort of supernatural mythologies and stuff with things like Baba Yaga and stuff like that, which are, again, for a game in this sort of ethos, you could definitely feed that sort of thing in.
And where I think inspiration would be good for this is, and I suppose it kind of fits with the whole Underworld thing as well, but a bit more so with Night Watch, is imagine a city in the world of darkness. The vampires and the werewolves don't like each other. Because vampires are corrupt agents of the worm and werewolves are giant carpets of death. And that...
Worryingly, I think that's an actual quote from the books.
But they can't really police each other. So maybe bring in another group, like the mages. So you've got this war between vampires and werewolves, and they've kind of got this uneasy truce. And then the mages are the ones who've got to police that truce.
Now mages, possibly if you want, if certain players wanted to branch out, maybe have an agreement mages and awakened hunters. I know you're not particularly keen on the super powered hunters from Hunter's Reckoning, but in that setup, I think that there's room for them if that's a thing that you want. If you or your players wanted to play with.
I mean, that's at least what I would do with something like Night Watch if I wanted to make that into a game or
I can immediately see like a tangent which would make that interesting is the idea that obviously people trying to curry favour and like you do with any kind of police force, bribe them or they distrust them. I mean, especially from the vampire point of view where the Tremere, who were formerly a member of the Order of Hermes, one of the mage conventions, they've got reasons to immediately dislike and feel victimised by the mages.
Absolutely. So I think for aesthetic-wise, it's a great movie because the tone, the feel, the atmosphere, great for the World of Darkness. Plot-wise, if I was going to steal it, mages are now the police force making sure the vampires and werewolves don't kill each other.
Also, as an aesthetic, just as a side, without giving spoilers if you've not seen the film, the bit with the truck clips?
Yes.
It's in the trailer. That's not CG, they actually did that.
Crazy, yeah.
That was an actual, I think they did it with like a pneumatic piston and stuff, but that's an amazing
Same as in
thing.
Dark Knight, I think they did the same sort of thing.
Oh, yes! No, I think you're right.
There is an art form to flipping trucks, apparently. Which means there's like a guy in Hollywood also.
But that's his job. What do you do? I'm a truck flipper.
So, modern day game, character concept, truck flipper.
It's like cow tipping only more hardcore.
There you go. So, that was my first DVD. What have you got, Chris?
Well, going on with the supernatural tangent, and this is one that I know a lot of people have very mixed views on because is it true to the comics, and has it been superseded by the more recent TV series, which I think has been just renewed. But Keanu Reeves'
sadly.
Constantine, I think, is he the most accurate depiction of John Constantine?
No, I think he is the most accurate blonde Liverpudlian wizard I've seen. Almost as convincing as is Jonathan Harker from Dracula.
As opposed to Sean Connery as a Egyptian Spaniard who spent time in Japan.
Matt Ryan is John Constantine. He knows it.
But, that's something for purists and things to debate. But the content of the film and the visual aesthetics that it inspires, again, you could definitely see this in a World of Darkness game. And I feel that possibly we've kind of shoehorned ourselves into a corner with these, but it doesn't have to be one of those. Any game where you're playing with the concepts of demons and angels and magic is definitely something you could play with in that. Although if we were going to go into the World of Darkness one, just because I know we've had this debate before, and for those of you who are familiar, you might want to weigh in, not just with this depiction, but in any depiction of John Constantine, is what tradition would he be?
See, for me, the proper John Constantine, from the comics and the TV show, he's a Euthanatos, or at least a Euthanatos-trained luck mage. The idea of synchronicity, but he's probably an orphan now. I get the impression he's a guy who was trained formally and then
turned his back on the tradition. I can see that because he's a bit of a maverick.
The Keanu Reeves version, Celestial Chorus, again, maybe lapsed. Because the movie, what makes the movie different, I think, from the other depictions of John Constantine, is in the movie it's more about this supernatural war between heaven and hell, which there were parts of that in the comics, but it wasn't what he did. He never described himself as an exorcist, I don't think, whereas that was a big part of the movie.
It was a big part of it, only in so much as it came up in the start of the film, and I think that's his point of connection with the female lead. Beyond that, actually, as the film progresses on, it gets mentioned less and less. So that's one of those weird kind of things where Hollywood forgets the thing that Hollywood wrote.
I'd say, aesthetically wise, the depiction of hell, if you've got umbral travel in your werewolf mage game, or in your D&D game, if you go to like the Shadow Fell or the Shadow Plane,
anything where you're playing with planar levels of existence is definitely cool.
The idea of the mirror reality of our own world, very well depicted.
Actually, the depiction of Lucifer works very well from a D&D point of view with Sigil. He doesn't intrinsically hate humans. He just sees them as a thing a resource that he can manipulate. One of the best visions of this, though, is the idea of demons and angels that live among us. They're not as powerful as they are, but there's that wonderful bit where the guy who's clearly on the demon's side basically makes that preacher drown in the supermarket. And there's the person watching with me, and you see it from the kind of supernatural aspect, and that person has the wings and has that sort of angelic connection, is trying to save his life. And I love that. That also feeds into Hunt of the Reckoning, because there's this brief moments where you see... it's not Hunt of the Reckoning, Hunt of the... No, it is Hunt of the Reckoning. Why did I have a total blah about that when I mentioned it earlier in the same video? Terrible. Where you have the site where you see the world for what it is. And those moments of you see that sort of moment, that's how I would describe those sorts of things in a Hunter setting.
There's a French role-playing game called In Nomine.
Oh, yes.
Where the forces of heaven and hell, you play a demon or an angel, and you are basically warring for human souls. And the Constantine movie is essentially that. So if you're running that game, or playing it, you cannot get a better inspiration, at least just to see how it would work in your head, than from that movie.
Well, we've said the obvious World of Darkness one is Mage, but there's definitely things that Hunter there. I think also Demon the Fallen, which is...
Yeah, Demon the Fallen, definitely.
There's a number of things definitely World of Darkness related to that, and it's probably the reason why I bought it, because I've played a lot of World of Darkness, and I keep trying to persuade one of my GMs to run more Mage. But yeah, I think, In Nomine is a good example of a non-World of Darkness game where you could take these concepts.
So how would you implement that in a fantasy game then? What could you take from Constantine in a fantasy game?
See, this comes back to a conversation we've had before about how D&D is quite restrictive in what you can and can't do, and depending on the pattern. So I'd probably want to go with something like maybe 13th Age, a bit more fluid about the way you do it. Have a cleric that is a exorcist, and maybe be a lapsed exorcist, and you could immediately play a John Constantine-esque character in the form of that, where you're not set by skills, but you have those backgrounds. So you could take exorcist as a background, and that covers both the knowledge of spirits, the names of spirits, but also how to deal with them.
So, I mean, for me, I think you just build a world where demons and angels, and the very Christian mythos of that, exists, which, it does exist in D&D if you look in the Monster Manual.
Demons and angels maybe in a crusade setting.
Yeah.
That's got mileage in it.
Yeah. For some reason they can't interfere directly because of the rules of the gods or what have you, so they look for mortal proxies to do it for them.
That's something that you could play with, and for that reason, and for, as I said, for that and for the various character things you could do from drawing from this as a great character, I think Constantine is a worthwhile addition to your role-play inspiring DVD library.
So my next delicacy is it's part of the oeuvre of Mr. Vin Diesel,
which is great because he is a role-player himself. Do you know what would be great if Vin Diesel saw this video?
The Chronicles of Riddick.
You're not even going to stoop to that, are you?
Well, I'm sure he's a lovely guy. Chronicles
Didn't
of Riddick.
he, during the making of this, get...
Dame Judi Dench to try and play D&D, apparently.
I'd love to know if that was true, and I'd love to know what did she play, how did she play it.
He also did a video with Matt Mercer of Critical Role.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
So our patron saint, Vin Diesel, allegedly, The Chronicles of Riddick. This is not a good film.
Oh, no.
Okay. But as a GM, as a player, this is a candy shop of things you can steal. Okay.
It's not bad. I don't think it's a bad film.
The bad guys are called necromongers. Now, if you like subtlety in your game, necromonger, maybe not. When we first saw the trailer to this years ago, a friend of mine said, they're making a Fading Suns movie. It has a lot of the aesthetic of Fading Suns, or maybe Warhammer 40k, if you play any of those role-playing games.
I don't think it's... Warhammer 40k is a bit too... the tech is higher, but at the same time more anachronistic, and the architecture is more gothic.
But it's kind of got that feel, though. It's not a classic sci-fi. It's got a very distinct aesthetic.
I think I think from a film point of view, the problem a lot of people have with this is that it's a really cool film, but this takes place in the same universe that,
Pitch Black.
yeah, which is just weird because that's very low, gritty horror sci-fi, and this is very fantastical sci-fi.
Yeah. Stuff you could take from this, though, and like I say, it's a candy shop. The escape from the prison on Crematoria. Sci-fi, you could make that a fantasy prison with
Any prison escape in almost any genre,
a steam-powered dwarven elevator or whatever.
Oh, no, that'd be fun.
You could do. Start the game off in a prison like that. Yeah, fantasy version, sci-fi version, whatever.
Starting a session of Prison Break is a good fun way.
Yeah, the Necromongers, they've got a stupid name, but that's a great portrayal of a warrior culture. You keep what you kill. Imagine some orcs
That
like
philosophy is fantastic.
Imagine if orcs turned up in your fantasy game of choice and had that kind of philosophy. Okay, third cool thing about this movie, Riddick kills somebody with a teacup. Or was it a super cup? I can't remember. He made a point of it. You can't do this in a lot of games. John Wick, the game designer of 7th Sea, did a video and a blog about it, which caused quite a lot of distress to some gamers, about how weapon systems are irrelevant because Riddick can kill people with a teacup. But man, if you can have a game where you can kill somebody with a teacup, you can take this.
If John Wick says that, I'd love to hear what Robin D. Laws, the writer of Feng Shui, said, because he's got a... Alright, Feng Shui is a little bit weird because it's got the shticks, but on the other end of the spectrum, Feng Shui also has, certainly in the previous edition, and I think possibly in Feng Shui 2, has a endless list of improvised weapons, and teacup may well be in there.
They've got other great things. Now, bad stuff from this. Riddick is not a good character. The problem with Vin Diesel in any of his movies is he is infallible. He's like Steven Seagal in his movies. Nothing can take him down. He shrugs off things. That is a terrible character. So that's the downside. I don't like Vin Diesel's characters generally. They tend to be the weakest part of his movies. I haven't seen the magnificent Fast and the Furious franchise. I'd be hard pressed to give you a
There's
full...
like 7 or 8 of those. I don't know if I could stomach watching all of them just to ascertain whether or not his character is good or not.
But at least in these movies, he's too badass. You know, the gravel voice and the... It's just... That is the worst
I think
compared
actually,
character.
again, this comes back to the fact that the first one was such a success that they made this one, which is very much the Riddick show. So certainly in this film, Riddick is if you want to play Riddick, your GM could and probably should tell you no, your character can't be that flawlessly good at everything.
Now, I've actually used inspiration from this in several games I've run, and it's the same line. And it's when Riddick, he's wronged by one of these necromongers, and Carl Urban's character...
He's probably the best thing about the film, actually.
I've got to love some Carl Urban. And he's kind of explaining the necromonger way, you know, you keep what you kill, what do you want? And Riddick kind of points to the guy who's wronged him and goes, I want a piece of him. And Carl Urban just falls, he goes, and a piece you shall have. And they have a fight about it, and I just love that line. And so whenever my players say something to the effect of I want a piece of him, I like to come back with that. Bit meta, but hey, that's what I like. So that is the Riddicles of Chronic.
Well, we've talked about films that we think are a bit bad. Now, I want so much to like this film because the trailer offered so much promise, but its delivery was fall short. But on the other hand, I think it's a film that feels so many great concepts, and that is, of course, David Ayer's Suicide Squad. One of the biggest disappointments of 2016. Not least because of this guy, Jared Leto. What were they thinking? I mean, what was that? His laugh was just, oh. Also, the trailer made a point of using him, and then he kind of apparently had loads of his scenes cut. And this is the extended edition. Some of the scenes that I thought were going to be in this even aren't in this, which... But the concept of convicts working, superpowered convicts even, working as a Black Ops unit is nothing new. Certainly the comics of the Suicide Squad have been going for decades. Marvel has its own equivalent in the form of the Thunderbolts, which at various points have also been stand-ins to the Avengers and outright pretended to be the Avengers in some points.
I played in a Shadowrun game, which is more based on Cyber City, that old anime.
Oh, Cyber City Radio 808. Yeah.
He knows, I have no idea. It's all Japanese cartoons to me. But I did actually watch it. I stayed up really late and watched it on TV when I was like 12. But a friend of mine ran this game, and we were basically playing Shadowrunners who had been caught, had multiple life sentences, but Lone Star, the police corporation, offered to reduce those sentences if we had a cranial bomb put in our heads and we solved crimes. And it was a great hook in the game. We could play the criminals who had been caught, who are then putting their criminal expertise to, helping Lone Star.
I think the problem is that a lot of people will by default want to play the Avengers, and the Avengers, for starters, the obvious weird power scale. The Avengers don't work in a roleplay game because somebody will want to play your Thor type character. Like, how do you even begin to stat a guy who is, even without Mjolnir, is so physically stronger and superior to a human by virtue of being a godlike being? And then you give him a magic hammer that flies, shoots lightning, can hammer anything.
See, what you're actually saying is everybody really wants to play this guy, Slipknot. He's the most valued player.
Well, no. Yeah, he was a... Surprise, surprise, the amount of scenes that Slipknot was in this film was the same amount as it was in the trailer. Literally, they showed you all of his scenes.
I think he's going to be the Boba Fett of this franchise. He's going to, he's only in it for a brief scene, but you're going to get action figures of him, spin-offs about him.
The thing is, though, I don't even think that's a bad idea for a character. I mean, the concept of it, what's his superpower? He's really good with knots. There are ways you can use that. The problem is that comic books, in their ethos, have some characters that are stupid. Captain Boomerang, I really enjoyed in this. Jai Courtney's quite entertaining.
I liked it. People say you said, well, I loved the character I liked the most in this, and that I would like to play in a tabletop game, is Captain Boomerang.
He's an arsehole.
Imagine this guy as a dwarf, right, with a tankard of ale and some throwing axes.
I love the fact that David Ayer said to him, one of his characters, I need you to find your inner arsehole. Or actually, no, I think he used the word bogan, which apparently is an Australian equivalent of arsehole.
It's like a type of goblin as well, I think.
Well, Captain
Boomerang is a type of goblin. Character concept, you can have that for free in a D&D game. Play a goblin who has a boomerang.
Or throwing hatchets.
Yeah.
But the problem is that these characters, with the exception of Enchantress, but that's okay, she's the villain. Spoilers! They're more or less on a power level. I mean, alright, they don't play on it much in the film, but Katana has a magical sword that eats people's souls, and she can talk to her dead husband. And Killer Croc may or may not be physically stronger by result of mutation, but they're much more comparable. Whereas, as I said, in the Avengers, somebody's playing Thor, and then somebody draws straws of, you're Hawkeye, what do? Well, you're really good for bow and arrow. Guns? No, you use a bow and arrow.
See, I think
there's Saturday Night Live did a brilliant sketch of this where it's like guys, we need to do this. Hawkeye says, I'm out. What do you mean? Well, I brought all 12 of my arrows.
Actually, I think the thing is, though, didn't Hawkeye himself make that joke in Age of Ultron? Towards the end, when he's
we're in a flying city, we're fighting a horde of robots, and I have a bow and arrow.
See, when it's self-referential, it's no longer a plot hole. And that is GM advice, actually.
Also, he had a very, very well-stocked quiver at that point.
Yeah. If people point out a plot hole in my game, I'll have an NPC agree with them.
See, I'm going a bit tangential here, but I just want to defend Hawkeye, because certainly in the film...
Why did you get Suicide Squad out and not Avengers, if you want to talk about Hawkeye? This is a really weird roundabout way of doing it.
Do you know what? No!
There's Avengers.
I've got both of them on the shelf.
Oh, there we go. There's Age of Ultron. Forget Suicide Squad. This is the Hawkeye show. And Hawkeye, right, what makes him a good character is, the character in any role-playing game who they just have that one ability, no matter what the game is. And Hawkeye, bows and arrows. It's a modern-day game. I want bows and arrows. I want to be the bow and arrow guy. Okay, you could be the bow and arrow guy. It's like a character out of place. But yeah, that's Hawkeye. He's not going to get his own movie, so...
He might turn up if they ever make the Black Widow movie, but that keeps being delayed.
Why does Hawkeye get bad press when he's got a bow and arrow? When Black Widow doesn't even have that. They've got the same training. They're both kind of...
I don't... I think also the thing was that they made a point in Age of Ultron of actually developing the character a bit more, and he's quite good. But...
Suicide Squad. Now, this...
They didn't develop the characters at all.
This is a bad role-playing game party. Some of them are good, and they've got a okay reason to be together when they're forced together, but they're kind of one-note characters. And if you've ever had that problem where people want to play those one-dimensional bad guys where their single motivation
I've
is
seen characters play one-dimensional heroes, that's the problem.
And because of that, they don't really have... Why are they bad? What's so bad about them? Why are they so, as some of the trailers put it, amoral or edgy?
Let's face it, Harley Quinn, other than being accessory to various crimes, again, Captain Boomerang. So he's a thief, but like El Diablo, as far as I know, other than being a gangbanger who accidentally cremated his own family, spoilers.
And he's one of the more relatable. Well, I said
yeah,
not relatable characters. One of the
he was one of the surprise characters to me.
Also, Viola Davis as Agent Waller, Amanda Waller. Cold, calculating. That's how you play a bad guy. Okay, I thought she had a really good performance.
Okay, so Deadshot kills people for money, but the only one there who I would argue is actually a villain is Croc, because he's a cannibal. Maybe him. It's even
Killer
then.
Croc is the half-orc. He's basically the guy who's bad because he's ugly.
I kind of feel that what they wanted to do with these characters and what I would have done as a roleplay game was had much more interesting characters. I mean, the one thing I will say in this film's defence is if you've actually seen the current characters, and if you haven't, go and Wikipedia them. Look at Captain Boomerang's ridiculous costume. They've tried to make the characters work in a world that doesn't really accept these sorts of bizarre characters.
Okay, so if I may though, we've looked at these movies. So, what I like to do is there is a world out there where angels and demons have fought for centuries, and they've reached an easy truce with each other. Yeah.
Oh right.
And so it's kind of like a religious state. The bad guys are the people who speak out against this religious state, and they're put in this underground prison. Yeah, you with me?
I see where this is going.
Except for something needs to be done, something stolen, something destroyed. So the player characters, who are all in this prison because they're bad guys, are recruited by a clerical organisation or a temple to do it.
Now that's a game.
And yeah,
I've said I wanted to do videos where you pitch a game. You just conceptually that's as a
that's
starting premise.
And Hawkeye's in it. Hawkeye.
Because he's the bow and arrow guy.
Jeremy Renner. Hawkeye.
You don't like Hawkeye or Jeremy Renner, do you?
No. I'm nothing Hawkeye. I don't dislike him at all. You
just think he's part of the scenery.
He's like, they've got some really nice chairs in Avengers and some really nice cars and a desk. And Hawkeye, he's like a prop.
Things we can take away from this video. You can definitely dissect any film, and you should, because films are a great source of things. As are comics. I feel like you could do a whole one just on comics. Though the comics would feature a lot more bad costumes. But don't be afraid to go and buy or rent DVDs to use as resource material for roleplay games. And if somebody says to you they want to be the one guy who does the one thing in your game, that's fine. But apparently if they want to play Jeremy Renner, who is the bow and arrow guy, think twice about that.
Hawkeye is awesome.